rust and the hilt's already fading. Leather in my grip, I never miss my swing. River running red from the dead, escaping. Heaven or hell, take the land between. And I bear this weight that I'm under, and no force could tempt a kneel. I bend for runner only, no this seal is not real. This shattered will define a spirit burning and honest. My demons paralyzed, terrified. They branded sacrifice, so tarnished early and often. My fury justified. Sealed up my fate and read the embers. A scarlet taste my blood remembers. Temper my crown, yeah. I wield what can't decay. No, feel the fury inside, try to bury my pride, but I'll rise the grave. My skin to stone, my flesh to honest. This gravity is daunting. The poison breath, this blight of death cannot infect my conscience. Cause I've been here before, bloodstains on altar doors. And I wish I was more, but I jail my doubts and errant souls, yeah. This shattered will define a spirit burning and honest. My demons paralyzed, terrified. They branded sacrifice, so tarnished early and often. My fury justified. I decide. Sealed up my fate and read the embers.
We are truly running a marathon here at VC WrestlePod. Hi, Andrew. I only saw you like in less than 30 seconds ago. You're muted, by the way.
I know. It's been a crazy Friday already.
I'm just happy that we don't have to do back-to-back shows again. This is the last week of doing it. But hey, you know what? Honestly, this might be a shorter episode because we literally had a 30-minute match to close out the show, which we'll talk about that. And spoiler alert, we got our first two matches for Emergence set. Well, that is not the Ultimate X, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But hi, all you VC WrestlePod nerds out there, and welcome to another rendition of the Takedown Troupe review, your weekly TNA Wrestling review squad in the house. I am one of your hosts, Mikey. Joining me this week is Mr. A to Z himself, Andrew, holding it down with me in the TNA universe. Unfortunately, we are missing our third co-host tonight, Papa Oso. I know he's not been feeling the best over the last couple of days. So shout speedy recovery to you, and hopefully we'll see you because we're getting close to Emergence. We'll be doing predictions very soon, which is crazy. But we are here to review the August 15th episode of TNA Wrestling. Andrew, we got more qualifying matches for the Ultimate X match at Emergence. We had some beef starting, beef finishing. We had a TNA World Championship match that had a surprising conclusion. which we'll talk about a little bit. So some good stuff to talk about in TNA this week. So let's just jump into it, because we kick off our show with our first of two Ultimate X qualifier matches, in which we had one half of your TNA Tag Team Champs, Chris Bay, being joined by Short King himself, John Schuyler of the Good Hands. I have missed the Good Hands on my television. Like, I'm so happy that they're back for all this. And then we get a surprise, because our third entrant in this match is representing NXT, coming all the way from Chase University, Chase U. We had Riley Osborne making his way into this match. And I was pumped and ecstatic. I was like, okay, if you're going to pick anyone from NXT, no shade to Dante Chen. I love Dante. But Ultimate X screams Riley Osborne to me for this. And you know what? The qualifying match was great. I love this match. Again, I have missed the Good Hands on my television screen, so it was nice to see John Schuyler get up in here, do his heel thing at the beginning, do some wrestling. Chris Bay is Chris Bay. Like, there are like no notes I can give Chris Bay anytime he wrestles. I was like, you're just so damn good. Like, why are you so damn good? I hate you for it. But the ultimate shock happened in this match, because Riley Osborne wins, and he is going to be representing Chase U and NXT, as he's going to emergence in this Ultimate X match. And it's him, Zachary Wentz, and now Riley Osborne has qualified. Like, Riley Osborne versus Speedball Mike Bailey. Give it to me now. Andrew, how did you feel about our first match that kicked off the evening?
I was super surprised to see, I saw this and I was like, okay, so Chris Bay's going to win, because it's probably not going to be Schuyler and it's not going to be someone from NXT. So I was super surprised and excited to see, Riley Osborne win this. I've seen him in NXT, so I definitely think he will bring some interesting, addition to that match. And, good on him. He looked really good in this showing. Good on him for winning that and getting to go to this other, big event. I'm fully prepared to be surprised and see him win this. But I have expectations that he's not going to, but he's going to add a lot of new flair to this. And it's kind of nice to bring in some of these folks that we haven't seen wrestle in TNA consistently, mix it up with some of the TNA talent. I thought the match itself was fast-paced and had some good actions, but it felt a bit short for me. Especially when you compare it to the match that we got later for the other qualifier. One of my favorite parts of this, though, was Kazarian and Matthew Raywalt talking on commentary.
It's so out of pocket.
Talking about getting oiled up before they came out to do commentary, and Raywalt talking about how he does it every time. And Hannafan just straight face is like, what are you two talking about? Like, he's just like, what? This is nonsense. Like, what are you guys even saying right now?
It's like in the back room.
Yeah. So hilarious. But yeah, this was a fun way to open the night. And, like I said, good on Riley Osborne, good on TNA and NXT for another good example of how they're handling this crossover between the two brands.
For reals. I mean, honestly, I still want more TNA representation in NXT. Granted that they hook, lined, and sinkered, the biggest person in TNA right now, or one of the big names in TNA right now, and Joe Hendry. God, I would love for him to face Ethan Page at No Mercy. Like, okay, I even though it's not TNA related, it's kind of TNA related, because this past week on NXT, number one, it seems that we're getting Wes versus Zachary at No Mercy. So I'm like, it's TNA because, one half of the Rascals is going to be fighting. God, that one-on-one match is going to be good. And you know what? Hey, Riley Osborne's out here doing things because, Ridge Holland and Andre Chase are going to be busy as your new NXT Tag Champs. I cannot believe they were the ones to dethrone Velocity. I'm still sad, but it was a fantastic match. Ridge Holland completed the story. It was great, but this was a fun opener, which leads into our, Gia Miller, like earlier in the day, parking lot, not as dangerous as the NXT parking lot, so she was okay. But Nick Nemeth rolling up and does this interview with Gia in the parking lot, talking about how he's going to prove himself tonight against Josh Alexander. and that Josh wants a match and he's going to get one tonight. We'll talk about that main event because I'm biased, but it was good. And if this was a preview of what we're getting for Emergence, I'm all in for this, which then leads into an in-ring.
All end is before.
I hate you. No, but I'm super excited. Why you gotta ruin my vibes? I'm just kidding. Speaking of people ruining vibes, Santino is a whole entire vibe because he's in the ring and he calls out Matthew Cardona.
Qdoba.
Santino continues to prove to be the best authority figure in any wrestling company, and I will die on that hill. I will fight anybody who 100%. Says otherwise.
100%.
But I'm also intrigued because it's setting up, other people getting involved in this because we have Matt Cardona come out. I've missed his theme song. I don't care if people say it's very butt rocky. I love his theme song. I love Always Ready. But Matt comes down to the ring. Santino's like, so you caused a bit of a problem. You were uninvited. You were an uninvited guest of the wedding. You destroyed the wedding. You destroyed PCO. You made Steph cry. It was a whole entire mess. And, Matt is just like, hey, so, I was just here. I was trying to get Steph back. And Santino's like, okay, well, there's retribution to pay here. So you got some options. Since you don't want to, since you aren't apologizing or anything, there's two ways this can go. You can either go to jail or you can have a match down the line between you and PCO. And Matt's like, no, I don't want to go to jail, so that's definitely not an option. But let me have my lawyers look at this contract, and if everything's good, I'll sign it, and we will be good to go. So, and I love this at the end of this. Santino's like, Santino 1, Matthew Cardona 0. Santino never change. I love you so much.
I have a theory. After the second, after the.
Just kidding.
No, he hasn't come over yet. After the second promo we get from Santana, I have a feeling I know where it's going.
Okay, well, I have some theories too, so we'll trade theories. All right, so we move on from this. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have anything else you wanted to add? Cool, sweet. So moving on, we get another earlier in the day segment backstage where Frankie Kazarian looked like he had his top row of teeth missing because of the way he speaks. I'm like, sir, where are your top row of your teeth? Like, what is happening? I was like, did you get lip fillers? Ew. Anyways, Frankie Kazarian is talking about how he's not being given an opportunity as the king of TNA, which then has Eric Young pop onto our screen. So it's like, ooh, okay. Eric still has beef with Frankie for costing him the championship at, what was it? No, sir. No, it went Hard to Kill in January. February was No Surrender. And then March was something else. Anyways, so when Eric Young got his championship match at the March pay-per-view, but Frankie Kazarian cost it. And he still got beef with it. It's like, oh, yeah, I forgot. We never really resolved that. I mean, technically we did. We also saw Eric Young get his ear sliced off in said Blood Feud match at Rebellion. But they still got beef with each other. I'm like, ooh, okay, we running Frankie and Eric Young bad. Let's run it back. And then, like, I love Steve Macklin, but I was like, wait, hang on, what? Because then he comes into frame and he talks about, two TNA originals complain about not giving the title shot. I'm like, oh, shit, here we go. We're getting pretentious Steve Macklin again. I'm kind of here for it. Which then leads into his promo where, he hasn't really had beef with anyone, but he has his targets, sights. He has his sights on Eric Young and he coming for him. I'm like, I'm still trying to see the logic, but honestly, Macklin versus Eric Young should be a very good program. Like, I am not going to complain about that.
Yeah, there was almost a part of me that I was wondering if this was going to somehow work its way into being a qualifier match for the X Division title match.
Spoiler alert, it's not.
Yeah, no. I was like, oh, there's 3 of them. Maybe this could be another one. And I was like, well, Frankie's been an X Division champion. And I can't remember. I think Eric Young has been too. If not, he's been a world champion, so like that. So is Macklin. So I was wondering where it was going. But even if it's just the 3 of them fighting each other, I think it could be a really fun match. So, sure, give it to me. Why not? The 3 of them aren't doing anything else.
It's true. I wish this was the qualifying match, but spoiler alert, the bumpers later in the evening ruined that for me. I was like, well, all right, I guess. Fine. I'm mad. Anyways, so we move on from here. We get our next match. This is the match where we had multiple refs, or at least two that I saw, because we had Tasha Steelz taking on Giselle Shaw. Giselle is tired of Tasha stealing, and the only reason she has won the last two matches against her because she cheated. So now these extra refs that Santino has in the ring is going to prevent lots of shenanigans. Again, I love Giselle's new gear. It is fantastic. It is lovely. I love that she has her old theme back, but the Titantron is now like there are flames all over the place. It's so fantastic. We love you, Giselle, and we love Tasha in here. Okay. I was a little disappointed because this was the only knockouts match we had this whole entire show. I was like, okay. So I'm gonna be honest. I love both ladies involved. This is okay. I think because of the fact that, Tasha was going to be trying to cheat every which way she can, there definitely was a lot of start and stop to this match as Tasha was trying to cheat and get different things done. She had a whole entire wrench at one point in her hand. And, the match itself was also kind of short, too. Giselle does pick up the victory here. Not my favorite match between these two, but you know what? For what the story was trying to tell, I was okay with it. I just wish it went a little bit longer and we didn't do as much start and stopping. But I could be wrong. Andrew, how did you feel about Giselle and Tasha's match?
I mean, I thought it was a good back and forth match between the two of them. It played into the gimmick that they were doing for this. I feel like this was more to have a match to build to another match. And I mean, if my wrestling history has taught me anything, what we're going to get is a match with no disqualifications, because then you don't have to have a steals the match away from you kind of situation. And you can have the two of them go against each other in some kind of Full Metal Mayhem kind of crazy match or something. To kind of finally put an end to this, which, if they build this towards Emergence, even if it's on the what is it, countdown 0 hour, whatever they call it in TNA, even if they put it on there, it'd be nice if it was on the main card, especially if it's going to be some kind of hardcore type match. I think the two of them could have a really awesome match, and it'd be a great way to have a knockouts match that doesn't have to involve a championship as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm never going to complain about more knockouts action, especially when you have Tasha and Giselle going up against each other, so I would be here for it. All right, so the next couple of segments kind of blend together, and I'm actually kind of liking what we got here. So initially, we were told that we were going to get Moose versus Santana next. Cut cue to the backstage area where the system is shown finishing up beating down Santana. And I'm just like, no, that makes sense. Santana is a big dude and he will fight you. But, the numbers game is still a thing, even for someone as cool as Santana. So then this prompts the system to come out. And, Alicia Edwards is so good of just being a heel we hate because she talks so much crap during this promo. I want that to be her catchphrase from now on. Do you want to know something? I'm like, oh, God, it's so grating. But I kind of dig it, ? But here, Alicia Edwards once again says that, Santana thought he was big and bad, but unfortunately, his match against Moose is not happening tonight because he's not medically cleared, as we all saw that the system beat him up. But then Santana's music hits, and he's coming through the crowd like normal. He's beat up. He's limping a little bit. He's holding his arm, which then proceeds to get into the ring, and we actually start this match. I'm not mad that Santana lost because Santana looked like an absolute beast in this match, in the sense that he literally was the underdog. And I think that's probably why I really enjoyed this match, because I was like, damn, Santana's out here giving it to Moose. And you know what? I also love the fact that the system was kind of scared to get involved because they knew Santana would beat that ass, so to speak. Unfortunately, though, Santana cannot catch a break. He loses, but you know what? I was not mad at it because this match did not make Santana look weak whatsoever. Even getting jumped earlier before the match, he still looked like $1,000,000. Andrew, how do we feel about the match itself? And the secondary question I'm going to ask for all this, do you think this is a good direction to have Santana go in terms of character development and story wise?
The match itself was good. I thought it was smart to have the system take advantage of their numbers, try to beat him down. It plays well into the story of their characters on both sides. And it set up the match to be able to continue that story by having Santana continuously just try to fight back from that adversity. And it was a way for Moose to win, but Santana to not lose, basically. Because no matter what, even if he lost, it's because he already got attacked beforehand. He was constantly having to deal with multiple people besides his opponent. So I thought it was smart and made sense for the way they were supposed to go. I think it's also, it's a good foil for the system to have against Santana because he is a threatening individual. And it keeps him busy while the other people in the world title picture are busy. You know, we've already got a challenger that's going to be facing for the world championship, and our champion's already dealing with a feud. So it keeps Santana busy with somebody else. I did like what we got after this match because after Santana lost, I was like, or even before he lost, I was looking at this and going like, dude, I get that you want to do this on your own and you've been a tag team wrestler this whole time and all that stuff, but it's like you can't do it all on your own. So it's nice to
Stop
see
being the lone wolf, Santana.
Yeah.
You need some help. And you know what, Andrew, I'm gonna let you do the honors. Who showed up to Santana's aid?
Well, I believe that we can all guess who it was. Joe Hendry comes out, which I like it because it's such a weird pairing with Joe
Right?
Hendry and Mike Santana. But at the same time, they're both legit threats. I mean, physically, they're both big dudes. They've both shown that they can be title contenders. Santana had to get taken out of that championship match. Hendry was like, the runner-up basically, and only got taken out because of other people's underhanded actions. So I like that they're putting these two together. It's going to be an interesting pairing because one's so serious and one is so like fun-loving. And then the fact that we also get the announcement that they're essentially teaming up with the Hardys, who also have beef with the system. So I like that we've got this kind of like patchwork group of people that there's like enough people that the system have pissed off that they're coming together now and the system has to deal with that. Because it keeps everyone that's involved in the story busy, and all of those people are at the top right now, and there's only so many people that can be in that main focus. So I like that they've done that together.
I 100% agree with you. It's keeping the whole entire roster being used for different things. And if this is the story we get for a little bit between everyone involved before we do some shifting, I would be so here for it. I love it. And so, I mean, the Hardys are coming back next week to go up against, part of the system. Again, if we get a whole like 4-on-4 match at Emergence with this odd pairing of Santana, Hendry, and the Hardys versus the system, I'll be here for it. But, the system is not the only ones that, are receiving beef, because we get this quick backstage pre-tape promo from Spitfire. Jody Threat is mad at the fact that once again, Militia keeps cheating to retain the championships, and Danny's like being the calming one of the group, trying to calm Jody down. And basically Spitfire call out Alicia and Masha, being like, we're still coming for you, so if you bring it, let's do it again, run it back. And I'm like, yes, give it to me. We might have to wait on that a little bit because, again, spoiler alert, we do get Spitfire involved in Emergence, but not in the way that I thought we were going to. But we'll talk about that at the end of the show, which coincides with Jordan Grace's promo when we come back from commercial. She's mad at Ash. She's like, I thought Ash would, go about and move on the way that she normally does, but now, nah, we need to run it back again. I want my vengeance. I'm gonna come for her again. So I'm just like, well, it seems that Jordan and Ash are not done with this, so we'll see what happens. And on top of that, there is the enigma that is how Rosemary will play into all this too, because Rosemary was also part of that match that got DQ'd because of Ash. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen with this. Like Ash, Rosemary, and Jordan beefing for a little bit, I'm kind of here for.
Yeah.
So again, we're kind of moving quick because most of the show is going to be happening in our main event, but we move on from Jordan's promo to our second Ultimate X qualifier match of the evening. We have the other half of the Good Hands, Jason Hodge, taking on Ace Austin and Rich Homie Swan from First Class. I mean, Andrew, we talked about it when we talked about the first qualifier. I think we both can agree that this was the better of the two tonight in terms of, perfect length, perfect action. And again, I was very surprised by who won this match. And I was surprised it was not a handful of tight. Maybe I'm dumb. I have never seen a roll up like that where we cross the legs to keep the pin like that. I was like, that's kind of great. I haven't seen that. And maybe I haven't. I'm not paying attention. But surprisingly, Jason Hodge is moving on to the Ultimate X. I'm like, you know what? I'm kind of here for this. Let's get the Good Hands represented in this Ultimate X match. But Andrew, how do we feel about this qualifier and our winner?
Yeah, I was super surprised by this again, especially because how we've seen the Good Hands, kind of show up in matches in the past. But watching this match, I was really surprised by Jason Hodge throughout this entire match. He kept up with Swan and Austin, who, Swan's a vet and Austin is one of the best out there right now. He looked really good. Good enough that I was watching the match going like, okay, I can see this guy wrestling in the X division. I like that he's in there because we mostly get to see him wrestle singles or at Explosion. And so I think him and Osborne will bring in some, fresh energy along with some of the other people that we've seen and can really do some amazing stuff with some of the other people we already have in this matchup. The match itself was really good, really fun match. Everyone had their chances to shine. And I feel like it made sense that Hodge won because it seems like we're now going to be setting up something between ABC and First Class with the way people got involved. And I also love that even though Skyler lost his qualifying match, he was out there and super excited for Hodge to win this. So it was, they don't care how they're winning as long as one of them is winning, they're both winning. So, it was fun to see all around.
Good Hands for tag team champs in the future, please. Like, these boys put in the work and they usually job out to everybody else on the roster. But the funny thing is they job out, but they are good jobbers. Like, they are actually really good. And outside of ABC, I think it was you that said it a while back. I think them and the Good Hands and ABC are probably like the most in sync tag teams. And maybe Myers and Edwards that can. I want a triple threat between those three teams. Like, give it to me. And throw the Rascals in there just because. Why not?
Good Hands versus the Outrunners.
Yes. Oh my God, please. I would love that more than anything. But speaking of things I love, this is where we get into conspiracy theory land for a little bit because we cut backstage with, Matthew Cardona and Santino. Matt Cardona tells Santino that everything looks pretty good on the contract, so he'll sign it. But he's like, so, you know what? Because I love doing business with you, Santino, because you are the best, in the words of Nacho Libre. Matt's like, how about we have a match where it's me, a mystery partner, and Steph taking on the whole entire wedding party, which would be PCO, Rhino, and Zaya Brookside. And Santino's like, I'm here for it. So you had a conspiracy theory about this whole entire thing. So what is going on in that little brain of yours, Andrew? What you got for me?
Well, and the other part of that was that part of the deal was if Matt Cardona did this match later on down the line, he would have another match against PCO. So the later part of my theory is that there will be some way that this gets set up that Cardona will wrestle PCO for that digital media title.
Oh, absolutely.
But my primary theory is because Matt Cardona kept saying certain things, I think the mystery opponent is going to be Santino.
Oh my god!
Because he kept saying things like, I'll see you out there. I'm really looking forward to working with you. He kept dropping these little hints, and he was so excited about signing up this contract with Santino. I was like, I think he's going to put somewhere in the paperwork, and then he had Santino sign it. I think he's going to put somewhere in the paperwork that it's Cardona, Steph DeLander, and Santino against the other three.
See, now, if Santino doesn't wrestle, I might actually be disappointed now. Thanks a lot, Andrew.
It's my crazy booking ideas. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're not.
Listen, if Santino actually gets in that ring, I will probably say that match is the best match of 2024, and I don't care what nobody says. Oh my gosh, Andrew! Like, see, now I want Santino, and I'm gonna be very upset at you and disappointed in TNA if it doesn't happen. How dare you?
It would be fun.
It would be so. Andrew, I just want to kiss your little forehead of yours, bro. Like, that is amazing.
It's just a theory. We'll see.
TNA, if it's not Santino, you got to call us because I want Santino involved in this storyline in some capacity because he believes in love. I love it so much. Alrighty, so we get from there, we get the bumpers for next week. So we're getting our 2 qualifying matches, which is going to be, I really would have liked to see Eric and Frankie and Steve Macklin, but it is going to be Frank. Oh my gosh, I just wrote it down and now I can't even read my own handwriting. But Hammerstone, Eric Young, and it's Frankie Kushida and Eric Young. Yeah, no, not Eric Young. The point being is that Kushida is probably going to eat the pin, and I believe it's him, Frankie, and Hammerstone actually. So I'm just like, I think Hammerstone's winning this one. And then the other one, I immediately figured out who probably was going to win this because it's Laredo Kid, Bhupinder Gudra, and Jay Vidal. I would love for them to pull like a fast one and be like, Jay Vidal wins.
Yes, I would love that.
I have missed Jay so much. I don't know where he's been, but I'm happy that he's back. Same thing with, it's nice to see them outside of Explosion. Him and Bhupinder as well. Like, I have missed him on my television screen. I don't know what's happening, but I think Laredo Kid's probably winning this one.
Yeah.
Because you always got to throw Laredo Kid into these Ultimate X matches. And again, Hammerstone is probably going to win his qualifier. And I'm very interested to see how Hammerstone does in Ultimate X. Like, I'm kind of here for all the shenanigans.
Yeah, you put someone that big in a match with all these high flyers, he's going to be basing a lot. So it should be really fun.
And then he surprises all of us and just jumps off everything too and does flip. I want him to be the TNA version of Brian Cage. Like, watch him have hops. That'd be nuts.
It'd be crazy.
Well, okay. Speaking of crazy, because Andrew, I need to take a moment real quick because we talked about this last week. We talked about how on paper this match was about to be fire, right? And our expectations were high. I'm going to be honest, it met and exceeded my expectations a little bit. And couple that with what we're going to talk about after said match and what we're getting at emergence between these two. This is no question. This is my match of the night.
Yeah.
I knew Josh can go for a long period of time. But what made me super happy about this match is the fact that this is really the first time we've seen Nick Nemeth in any capacity and be going so long as he did. This was a whole match that went to the 30-minute time limit draw. But before we get into the ending and talk about the match itself, in our main event for this week's episode of TNA, this was the TNA World Championship with Josh Alexander challenging our champion Nick Nemeth with 30-minute time limit or TV time remaining. And these men went to war. Josh and Alexander just can't have a bad match, Andrew. Like, it doesn't matter who it is. Josh brings out bangers. and Nick Nemeth also brings out bangers. Like, this was a straight up banger. We're like, holy crap. I don't even know where to start, Andrew. Like, where do we want to begin with this match?
I mean, I think the biggest thing that really helped sell this match was that Nick Nemeth is so great at taking damage, and Josh Alexander is so good at dealing damage that it was, and this is kind of the role that Nick Nemeth has been in, and in his previous incarnation, he never got past that hurdle. But what we're getting to see is him overcoming those adversities. And that's what we saw was just Josh Alexander just, beating the crap out of Nick Nemeth, and Nick Nemeth just pulling a Steve Rogers and just like kept getting up, kept doing that. I could do this all day, and was just taking it. It's not quite there. I can see the sparks of it, and I think we'll see it in the rematch. This is the modern version of Kurt Angle, Shawn Michaels, and they're just so good. They're so entertaining, and they're such good compliments to each other. And I think part of that is because they're so adaptable to their opponents. I had a feeling it would go this route when they kept harping on the time limit, and I was like, all right, cool, you're telling us that there's this stipulation. That stipulation is probably going to come into play. I like that they did it because we've seen Nick Nemeth now have 2 title defenses since winning it, and they've been 2 title defenses on the weekly shows. So I like that we got this because, again, this builds into a feud and storytelling instead of just, all right, you fought for the title, now let's finish that and go on to somebody else. And it continues to build up that, Josh still hasn't lost that chance for that, that shot for that title in a singles match. He's been up there, he hasn't lost that title, he's constantly trying to fight it, but he just can't quite get to it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the next matchup we're going to get between the two of these guys. Yeah, it was my match of the night, which there were a couple other matches that
Right.
before this I thought might have been, but this was just really good, really entertaining. And they used that full 30 minutes so well.
It didn't feel like it dragged on for too long, which is one of my biggest complaints about like long matches like this, or matches that go for an hour. If there's even a singular section that's very slow, like, it takes me a bit to get back into it. So I love that it seemed that they paced this out very well. And as we were alluding to, the time limit did hit. So this technically was a draw, but Nick Nemeth is still your champ. Nick wanted 5 more minutes, and Josh was like, no. And then he destroys Nick, and then teases that he's going to do 5 more minutes. But then he just holds the championship and leaves on his own accord. He's like, I'm not doing this. I already did 30 minutes, so I'm out. Like, I ain't going to give you the satisfaction. So that's how the episode ended. But before we get into our empanada ratings, we got to talk about these matches that just got announced outside of our Ultimate X match for Emergence. So I want to start with, our knockouts action, because I understand why we're doing the things that we're doing, but we have Jordan Grace teaming up with Spitfire. So it's those 3 taking on the team of Ash by Elegance and Militia. I was like, okay, so we're combining the 2 like championship knockout storylines, and they're all going to fight each other. I would normally say I think anytime Jordan's on the pay-per-view, she's going to win. I don't know. I think I would kind of like to see Ash and Militia beat them, which would allow Ash to be like, I want my rematch. And it's like, all right, girl, let's go. So that's just me, though. So, Andrew, how do you feel about this particular match, Jordan and Spitfire versus Ash and Militia?
It did surprise me, but at the same time, I think it serves twofold, because I think we're going to continue this feud, which is what I wanted. I didn't want this to be again another one-off and then we just move on to another contender. So I think it's keeping the Jordan and Ash feud going. And we're still in this position where we don't have any other knockouts tag teams. So it's another way to keep that tension going in the knockouts tag division without having any other people to be able to come in, and the challengers have to work their way back up through, or the champions have other challengers to deal with. So I think it's a way of keeping that going with some interesting action. I think the team of Jordan Grace and Spitfire is crazy.
That's a lot of power.
Yeah, I mean, you just have Danny Luna and Jordan Grace on a team. It's insane. But then you give them Jody Threat.
Jody will throw you all over the place. It's so good.
So I think that, especially against the team of Ash and the Militia, because it's other than Masha, it's a very different set of, knockouts wrestlers. So I think the match will be fun. It makes sense because Emergence is kind of that type of pay-per-view where it's kind of the transitionary one. So we'll get this build up, and then we'll have, the big matches probably happen next. So I'm not mad at it because I think it'll still be good. And with the roster that they have, it makes sense.
All right. So before we get into the other one, I just want to shout out the homie, David in the channel have a TNA versus ROH show. I'm like, yes, give me Athena versus Jordan, Athena versus any of the knockouts, Jordan versus anybody on the ROH women's roster. Yeah. Like, again, and we talked about it, Good Hands versus Outrunners. Give it to me. like, there's just enough of everything. The Infantry versus, ABC. ABC versus the Undisputed Kingdom would be a banger. Like that, it would be my Lucha Bros versus Young Bucks on Rampage when Rampage first started. Like, give me that
Cage versus Jake something.
Yes, Jake and Hammerstone and Brian and who else? Who else is a big boy that we can throw into all of this? I don't know. Just like two beefy boys from ROH versus two beefy boys from TNA. Like, David, now you got my Ryan Macy. Tony Khan. Answer the phone, damn it. Like, this would be fantastic. But let's get into what's probably going to end up main eventing Emergence, which is the second match. We're getting a rematch where Nick Nemeth is putting his title on the line against Josh Alexander. But the difference is this is a 1 hour Iron Man match. And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to kill each other, Andrew. And I'm kind of here for it. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's going to be like the whole second, third, or half of the pay-per-view. It's going to be insane, but yeah, it'll be awesome.
And again, if this match we saw tonight is just a taste, I cannot wait to see what they pull out for Emergence. Because we know that 1 hour Iron Man matches are very hard if you don't have the right talent. It can work. Like, I think the Iron Man match that MJF and Danielson had like last year, I thought was fantastic. But then sometimes we see Iron Man matches that don't necessarily work out the way that they should either. But I'm excited for this. So we got those two matches, and then the Ultimate X match for Speedball Mike Bailey's championship. We're probably going to get some other matches down the line for Emergence. I'm excited to see. And then, after Emergence is over, we run into like an all-in, all-out situation where Victory Road is 2 weeks later. So we'll see what kind of matches we get for that. But this is a fun TNA episode. Andrew, out of a scale of 0 to 10 empanadas, what do you rate this week's episode of TNA?
I give it an 8.5. It was super solid night of matches with some really good ones. The action was great. It continued the feuds. I definitely feel like the storytelling, though, is much more of we have Emergence coming up, so we need to build up stuff to fill that card, as opposed to some of the other buildups that we've gotten from TNA where they're going to culminate at this event because the buildup to it has been so big that it needs to be on the stage like that. So it feels like previous times we've had stories building that have culminated in a big event. That's where this feels like we have a big event coming, so we have to build up some stories for it. And I think that's partially because we have these, qualifier matches coming up. We've got some matches that involve champions but are not championship matches. We've got some of that stuff, but it doesn't feel forced. and not to call out other promotions, but it doesn't feel like one of those things where, oh, it's last minute, now let's throw together something. I don't mind it what they're doing. It's just a different way of that they had to build to this. But the way that they're doing it is really good, and it's keeping me entertained, and it has me interested in seeing that event. So they're doing a great job.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you. I give this an 8.5 empanadas out of 10 for me. I thought this was a solid show. And again, I love doing both ROH and TNA on Fridays. But again, and it's not fair to compare promotions because everybody different talent, all the talent involved in all the shows we cover are fantastic. Our biggest issue all the time is with the booking and the powers that be. And TNA is just a nice palate cleanser to end on the double block reviews, but I agree with you. 8.5 out of 10. I thought this was a really solid show. Santino continues to be the best authority figure in wrestling, and anyone can fight me on that. I will die on that hill. I thought the Ultimate X qualifiers were great. I loved our main event, which sets up for what I'm super excited. Normally I'm not like big on Emergence because Emergence and Victory Road are just like the pay-per-views that are there to lead into Bound for Glory. And they tend to be like, of the big four, the road to Bound for Glory tends to be the weakest, which is, which last year we saw was kind of the weakest with Emergence and Victory Road leading into Bound for Glory. That was last year, and how trash that buildup was. But honestly, I like this build to this year's Emergence better than I did last year's Emergence. But definitely 8.5 empanadas out of 10. And Andrew, that's it. We reached the end of this week's TNA episode, and we did it under an hour. It's crazy. We're tuckered out. We just did ROH like back to back. But thankfully, this is the last week we're going to go so back to back. Well, at least be spread out starting next week again. But that's going to be it for us here at the Takedown Troupe review. We will be back at our regular scheduled programming, which is not that much of a difference. It's only 15 minutes because we'll be back at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fridays. But hopefully next week we will have the trio back together, as next week's show is the second to last show before Emergence. So we got next Friday show, and then the following week will be the go home show, which is funny because that's when Emergence also airs as well, as we're doing the review, which is fine. We're going to talk about picks and everything. So I am here for all of that. But just to give you a heads up, next week is going to be really busy here for all of us here at BC WrestlePod. So we have our regular scheduled shows this upcoming week. Sunday, we have the WWE show with myself, the Professor Minnie. We also have a BC WrestlePod episode talking about what feuds should have went on longer. So that's going to be a fun show. Spoiler alert, I'm picking Bianca Belair versus Queen Zelina Vega because I thought that was money that was left on the floor in the table. And, and it all stemmed from a TikTok video that Zelina Vega made, which I will share with Andrew afterwards. But we got our regular shows. We got that. Then we have our AEW show on Tuesday, CMLL on Wednesday, TNA on Friday, and ROH on Friday as well. But then the weekend's about to be crazy because next Saturday we will be doing a live watch along for night one of GCW Homecoming, in which Andrew gets the spotlight once again, leading us plebs of GCW through it. I'm super excited. That flipping ladder match is about to go off, and I'm here for all of it. But the other matches that are on night one, I'm super excited for, and night two. We got All In coming up really quickly. We got that pay-per-view review, Homecoming pay-per-view in 2 weeks, like Emergence, Bash in Berlin, NXT's No Mercy is also coming up. Like, it's about to be on and popping for the next 2 weeks. So if you like professional wrestling and you want to support, non-white folks, I'm just kidding. No shade, but like, I love us here at BC WrestlePod because we try to be as diverse as possible. So if you want to support something new, then tune in for the next 2 weeks because we got something for everybody. But from all of us here at Takedown Troupe Review and BC WrestlePod, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay iconic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story We will catch you next week for another exciting episode of the Takedown Troupe review. But until then, sayonara, adios, and we'll see you later.